Hey everyone, Garrett Elysium's here. Welcome back, and for those of you that are watching for the first time, do me a favor, please hit that subscribe button. Today we're doing my recent CD purchases. I believe this is part 16. So we have 28 CDs to go through, one box set, and a DVD I'm going to show. Now this is a pretty decent haul I got over this past couple days. So some of the stuff are remastered editions that I've replaced of some of my favorite bands. I got a lot of Digi-packs, some bootlegs, and again, like I always say in my other videos, there's a lot of compilations such as greatest hits, things like that, only because I own so much by the band already. I own all the studio albums that I just want to get the greatest hits and other compilations to complete my collection. So first off, I'm going to start with my Digi-packs I have here. Got a nice little stack before we go into the jewel case and stuff. First up is Nazareth with Rampant. This is a United Kingdom release. This is actually the album, the first album released in 1974. Their second album would be their, probably their greatest triumph, Hair of the Dog, which put the band on the map. Their biggest selling album, had their two biggest hits with Hair of the Dog and Love Hurts. Next we have, this is Angel Dream, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This is basically the soundtrack from the film She's the One. But in a different style, alternate versions, kind of more the way Tom really wanted it to be, even though this was, put together after Tom's death, produced by Rick Rubin, Tom Petty, and Mike Campbell, the guitarist of the Heartbreakers. I really like the artwork on this one. I think it's really cool with the multicolored sky there. Next up, we have the Zac Brown Band. Greatest hit so far. I do like a couple songs by Zac Brown Band. Not a huge fan of them, but I don't know all these songs. And since I'm now living in the suburbs with my backyard and out of the city, I figured this might be a cool album to put on now that spring and summer's coming up, while I'm out back doing things and, just relaxing. So we'll see. Next are the remastered editions of one of my favorite bands of all time. Sure, one of your favorite bands of all time also. Led Zeppelin. These are the 2-disc remastered edition. First disc is the original album remastered. Second disc, on this Led Zeppelin one, is actually a live show from 1969. But each one of these remasters has a second disc with alternate versions, outtakes, instrumentals, live tracks, things like that. So Led Zeppelin 1. Of course, a Led Zeppelin 2. So unfortunately, this Led Zeppelin 2, after I purchased it, I realized they actually put a sticker of the Led Zeppelin 3 track listing on there. I tried to get it off. Wasn't that easy, being that is a Digi-pack. Some damage there, but it is what it is. Then Led Zeppelin 3, of course, we have the, just like the vinyl, the rotating cover there. Led Zeppelin Floor, or Zoso, or Runes, whatever you want to call it. One of the biggest selling albums of all time. One of the greatest albums of all time. For me, I've listened to this album so much that it's kind of overplayed, that I rarely put it on. I don't disagree that it's one of the greatest albums of all time, but for me, it's just not in my top 3 favorite Zeppelin records. And these next two may be my favorites. House is a Holy. This is, a front runner. Usually the one I go to when I say this is my favorite Led Zeppelin album. Again, like all these discs, remastered, and a second disc of outtakes, things like that. And of course, Physical Graffiti. This one's cool. It's actually a 3-disc set. Obviously, the 2 discs that make up the original album, third disc of the outtakes. What I like is they are really replicating the vinyl, as this came in the vinyl sleeve. And of course, you could switch out the sleeves to fill in the windows of the New York apartment buildings. You got the booklet, disc 1, disc 2, and the outtakes. Really cool stuff. I mean, if I'm going on a desert island and I can only bring one Led Zeppelin album, probably going with Physical Graffiti because it has the most songs on there. And that will not replace, but I already have these 94 remastered versions, which I've actually owned these for over 20 years. Obviously, some of my favorite albums of all time. They're going to go right next to my collection. Basically, I bought these remasters because of the bonus disc, so I finally have that. The remasters don't really sound that much different than these 94 remasters, in my opinion. I expect them to be more enhanced and louder, but to me, they didn't really sound that different. Some of you may disagree, but for my ears, it's very similar. Alright, next up, we are getting into Mott the Hoople Live. This is the deluxe expanded edition, 2-disc set. CD1 features Broadway, CD2 Hammersmith, which is another extra 10 songs on there. Mott the Hoople, a really great early 70s hard rock, almost glam metal band. Not glam metal, glam rock band. But I see them as a hard rock band and definitely an influence on the later glam stuff and the 80s hair metal movement. Next up, Clapton, Complete Clapton. This is a 2-disc set. So it accompanied the autobiography by Eric Clapton, which I actually haven't read. There are 36 tracks on here total. Everything from Cream through Blind Faith, Derek the Dominoes, and the rest is his whole solo career. Riding with the King, which he did with B.B. King, and also ends it with Ride the River with duet with J.J. Cale. Another greatest hits. This is the best of Talking Heads. This was released in 2004. I own all the Talking Heads studio albums. I have Sand in the Vaseline, the 2-disc set greatest hits. This is just a single disc 18-track greatest hits. I remember owning this before, and I don't know what happened to it, but I have it again. Next, Deep Purple live at Montreux, 1996, and also in 2006. 2-disc set. First disc is from 96, and you can see the booklet there. You flip it over. It is the 2006 set. This features Steve Morse on guitar, not Richie Blackmore. The rest of the band is the Mark II lineup, which features Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, Ian Pace, John Lord, and obviously, like I said, Steve Morse on guitar replacing Richie Blackmore. Next up, Question Mark and the Mysterians, the best of. Question Mark and the Mysterians, a great mid to late 60s psychedelic garage rock band. Had the awesome song 96 Tears, probably their most well-known song. There's also Can't Get Enough of You Baby. That track was later made popular by Smash Mouth in the late 90s. Probably the more not the more, but the version you'll know a little better than the Question Mark and the Mysterians one. Altogether, 27 tracks on here. Their studio albums are very hard to come by on CD, so that's why I had to grab this Cameo Parkway Best of collection from Abco Records. Next, we have Roxy Music with Avalon. Probably their most famous album and biggest selling, features their biggest hit, More Than This, which opens it. This is from 1982. This is actually my second only Roxy Music CD, as I do own Country Life. So this is the second one I own. Next, Deep Purple, another one, made in Japan. This is the remastered deluxe edition. I always preferred this edition because this was the original one. I've owned this forever, but I figured, why not upgrade? I'm a huge Deep Purple fan, one of my favorite bands of all time, so I figured I'd go with the 2-disc deluxe edition, featuring 9 tracks altogether. And I actually didn't really go over this. How We Start, Smoking the Wood of the Mule, Strange Kind of Woman, Lazy Strange. Yeah, so that second disc features Black Knight, Speed King, and Lucille, which were not featured on the Made in Japan original release. So the first disc is actually the entire Made in Japan. CD2 is the encore. And of course, you get the expanded artwork, the expanded liner notes, pictures, and all that inside. Next up, Joni Mitchell hits. Joni Mitchell, another artist I own a good majority of her studio albums, basically from the late 60s to the mid 70s. This is just a hits, which features all her best songs on a single disc. But if you really want to go for, you'll get into Joni Mitchell, you're not that familiar, still go with the Blue Album. I feel like it's much stronger than this hits collection. Next up is Disturbed with Asylum. Got this for a really good price. I'm not that familiar with this album. I think Another Way to Die was a hit on rock radio. That's the only title on here that sounds familiar. I really stopped listening to Disturbed after Inside the Fire. I love The Sickness when it came out. Believe I wasn't that into. 10,000 Fist, I felt like it was a little too commercial. I didn't really jump on that bandwagon. Yeah, there were some songs in there I like, but when they came out with, or Indestructible, I'm sorry, not Indestructible, the hit off there was Inside the Fire, that's what I meant to say. Indestructible, I felt like there was a little harder, a little heavier, not quite The Sickness, but that's kind of where I left off. They kind of lost me after that, so I'm going to give this a listen and see how I feel about it. You know, that's CD's literally 12 years old right now, and they released a few albums after that, but that's where I'm at with Disturbed. Next up, another one I got super, super cheap. Green Day, Greatest Hits, God's Favorite Band. I own International Super Hits. I actually own Green Day's debut album all the way up until, I think, 21st Century Breakdown. Anything after that I never really listened to. So this is 22 tracks of basically all their hits and other well-known songs for fans of the band. They're not actually hits, but they're well-known. The only song, well, there's a couple songs that they left off of here that I feel like were hits. Jaded is not on here, which obviously would follow up Brain Stew when they played on the radio here in Philadelphia radio. And the other hit was Let Yourself Go, which I feel like was a decent hit for them. I'd probably say around 10 years ago, somewhere in that time. Not one of my favorite songs, but I feel like for as popular it was, as much play it got on the radio, they should have included it. There's a song on here featuring Miranda Lambert, the country artist, Ordinary World. Didn't listen to that yet, but doesn't sound promising. I picked up Depeche Mode, the Best of Volume 1. I love Depeche Mode. I basically have everything by them on their studio albums. This is a cool one-disc set that's, collects everything. I do own Catching Up with Depeche Mode and the Greatest Hits, the singles from, I think it's 86 to 98. Something around there. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the years it spans. But yeah, single disc set. Next up, this is a bootleg released from the United Kingdom. Led Zeppelin. Got the St. Louis Blues 3-disc set recorded at the Missouri Arena, St. Louis, Missouri on February 16th, 1975. So pretty cool because there's some songs from Physical Graffiti on here, which were not released on the Song Remains the Same live album or the How the West Was Won live album. So 3-disc set, really cool lineup. Basically features everything that you would expect. But I grabbed this because I saw they do on here Sick Again, In My Time of Dying, and Kashmir. Also Trampled Underfoot live, which I don't think I own anything by them on CD live. Only with the Led Zeppelin self-titled DVDs where I saw that stuff. Next we have Ramones with Pleasant Dreams. Slipcase here. This is the remastered edition. 7 bonus tracks. Really decent album. Not as strong as the first couple albums. The KKK Took My Baby Away, probably the most well-known song off of here. Also, It's Not My Place in the 9 to 5 world. But it's the Ramones. You can't really go wrong. I mean, one of the greatest punk bands of all time. In my opinion, the greatest punk band of all time. And a lot of Deep Purple in this one. Deep Purple, Total Abandon, Australia in 1999. Again, this features Steve Morse on guitar. 12 tracks from the Abandon album tour in the late 90s, 99. Features, a lot of classics on here like Strange Kind of Woman, Pictures of Home, Woman from Tokyo, Fireball, Smoke on the Water, Black Knights, Highway Star, but also some newer stuff like Ted the Mechanic, Bloodsucker, Almost Human, Watching the Sky, Sometimes I Feel Like Screaming. And then from King Crimson, one of the very few albums I don't own by them, this is Beat. This is I believe this is a mid-80s album. I forget the exact year it came out. Don't think it says it on here, and does not. Some 2001 remaster. I mean, it's King Crimson again, another band you can't go wrong with. Great prog rock band, one of the greatest bands of all time. This lineup featuring Adrian Bello, Robert Fripp, Tony Levin, and Bill Bruford, obviously on drums. In my opinion, one of the greatest prog rock drummers of all time. Another one by the Ramones. This is Brain Drain, released in the late 80s. I believe this is 89. Yeah, 1989. On Sire Records, I Believe in Miracles. I got into that song because Pearl Jam did a cover of that on one of their live bootleg CDs back in like 2003. Didn't really realize it was a Ramones song until I heard this album later. Also, Pet Sematary, the song which was featured in the ending credits of the original Pet Sematary from the late 80s, the great Stephen King movie. Love that song, and they're probably the most well-known punk Christmas song. Merry Christmas, I Don't Want to Fight Tonight. And another one I picked up for like $1 brand new. Korn, Greatest Hits Volume 1. Basically got this because I do own all this stuff, the studio albums that Korn is featured on here. But it has the cover of Cameo's Word Up, and also a cover of Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall, parts 1, 2, and 3. And it actually ends with Goodbye Blue Sky. Obviously, nowhere near as good as Pink Floyd's versions. Especially the guitar doesn't even match up against David Gilmour's. But overall, just a CD I could throw on if I want to hear some of the hits. But actually, I realize that you're listening to this, I prefer listening to the individual albums, especially the first 4 by Korn. Next up, Ghost. This is Impera. This was just released, brand new. See, a lot of people have been talking about it. I do know Ghost. I like a few songs by them. Never really fully got into them. But looks like this song was, definitely, awaited for quite some time. Everyone's been posting about it, so I'm going to give it a try, see how I like it. Next up, the very best of the Doobie Brothers. This is a 2-disc set. I do own the Best of Doobie Brothers and the Best of Doobie Brothers Volume 2. Also, the majority of all the studio albums. Again, love the Doobie Brothers, gotta own everything. So this is just a 2-disc compilation featuring 33 songs all together. First disc is much stronger, as you would guess. Disc 2 is more of the later stuff and a lot of the Michael McDonald stuff. That's it with the single CDs. Next, we're going to get into a box set. This is the Moody Blues Timeless Flight 4-CD anthology. Really cool stuff here. So there's a lot of, I'll just read the hype sticker off of here. Exhaustive career retrospective spanning the years 1967 to 2003. Contains singles, key album tracks, previously unreleased mixes, and live favorites. So it's kind of in this book format. See the 2 discs there. Cool 40-page book with lots of pictures. Really cool liner notes and story. There's the last 2 discs. Track listing on the back. Really cool to get into that. And last one I have for this video is a DVD I picked up. I was out. Living with the Past, Jethro Tull. This is a live set from 2001 on their tour. Really good track listing. I mean, basically spans their entire career from, everything they did. From This Was, up until like jtoll.com album. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the lineup right now, but that's what it looks like. But yeah, everything's on here. Obviously, Jethro Tull, one of the greatest prog rock bands of all time. I mean, there's a nice little booklet in here with pictures, liner notes, all that. So everyone, that is my recent CD purchases. I want to thank everyone for watching. Again, if you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. Help support my channel and help me give me motivation every time to post more videos like this. Everyone, thanks for watching. Take care.